that's the new deal at, we heard about Wildcat.
Sure.
That's the permit.
Permit, so that's 200.
Yep.
Then we have Construction Materials, Inc. for transportation,
That's the rebar.
882.63. I think you need to sign here too, Tracy, what's that? I don't know why it says that. And then Short Elliott Hendrickson for Wildcat Bluff Water. And that's for $963.86. Is there more than one? Or three? I thought there was only three.
Well, have fun.
You're probably right. I'm wrong.
Here, I'll look real quick at the fund.
Yeah, right, there's three.
Okay, I was gonna say, I think there's only three this time. So, those would be the three I'd like a separate motion on.
Okay.
And then you have an initial, I think you got, this one has
Okay.
it, and then the one wants a signature.
Well, I'll make a motion that we pay those three, as Haley read them off. Out of the ARPA funds.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You got claims? I didn't see anything else, so
Okay,
I'm good with them. How about you guys?
yeah, I didn't see nothing wrong.
Okay, make a motion, we approve the claims then.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I know, close enough to 5.
You want all these claims initialed by us?
Yes, please.
Okay.
And the one I'll get Tracy's signature on for the approving them. We're supposed to send that one this month.
They were all concerned that it was ran through them.
Oh, gotcha. Maybe that, I don't know.
It's on the left there.
Okay, Barb.
We've got to discuss approved driveway variance on Charles Overby property. It would be for Cody and Jessica Randall. We received a driveway report from Randy Sherwood, and he has indicated that he is denying the widening of that driveway because it does not meet our criteria. I believe you have that report in front of you.
You need to see it, Gary?
If you guys remember, we had before you the Crows, the same one, and also the All Press Storage Shop,
Right.
the same one. If you look on the elevation that I gave you, my question to the Overbys is if you did comply with our driveway ordinance, could you not move the hay crop back to where you are now and then go up? Because it indicated on my report that you didn't want to take the hay out up there.
Correct. I don't want to lose that much field for no reason. That's 475 feet from line of sight. Your criteria is 500 feet from line of sight. I can show you 4 other properties within a mile of my place that do not meet your criteria, and I have the addresses of them with me, because we measured them yesterday, physically walked them. 2 of them are under 400 feet. One of them's at 400.
Would this be for new properties? John?
Yes.
Three
New
of
and
them, 3 of
existing.
them are brand new, one's existing.
Yeah, and 2 of them are under 400 feet and on a side hill that many wrecks have been on. This driveway's existed for as long as I've been alive. My grandfather owned this property before me, and he's had it since 1950, and the driveway was existing. We have industrial stuff go in there, we have machinery go in there, we have cattle trailers, balers, everything in the world go in there, and we've had no difficulties. We're talking about 25 feet. Why should I waste 470 feet by 12 feet wide of hayfield or cropland for something that's basically irrelevant? It's 25 feet. Now, Randy has talked to our contractor and told him that it was good to go. We got a text from the contractor that says this, and he's even got a date on it and a time. Then Randy said he did not speak to this gentleman. I don't know why the contractor would lie to me, but I'm not going to accuse anybody of anything. I'm just saying that we're looking at 25 feet of distance where you're going to cost me 475 feet by 12 feet wide of field, which we don't need to do. Plus, we're going to run my daughter a big jagged square to get to her house. The existing driveway's worked fine for 70 years that I know of. I'm asking for a variance for that 25 feet. In order to get her prefab home in there, the contractor says we would have to widen the thing by 6 feet to the north, because you can't widen it to the south due to a drainage under the road. Now, if you gentlemen have any questions for me, I'd love to answer them. If
How much
not,
traffic's on 33rd Avenue?
there's a little bit, but there's not enough for you guys to consider putting blacktop on it.
The 2021 traffic count map, Tracy has 100 vehicles a day on that mile segment. The report I was given by, from Randy that I'm looking at in front of me was not 475 feet of sight distance, but 426 feet of sight distance, 75 feet shy of the 500, and that 500 feet north of the driveway, if you were to park a pickup on the road, you can't see anything of the pickup. It's over the crest of the hill at that point.
I can show you 4 properties just like that.
Our driveway resolution that was modified and is what we used that was done back in 2008, indicates that if anybody wants to alter their existing driveway, they must comply with that site distance policy. If nobody has altered a driveway that has less than 500 feet site distance, we haven't forced anything on anyone. If they want to move things to make it safer, we have done a lot of cost sharing in the cost of moving those driveways. The driveway policy as it states, I guess there isn't really any language that talks about variance, but I know, was it last year? Chuck Yedlick came in on a field access that didn't quite have 500 feet. That one was not as sharp of a crest of a hill where you could still see ag equipment or tall vehicles going in and out of that field. This one, like you say, when Randy explained it to me, he said, when I parked my pickup 500 feet away, he said I couldn't see anything in the pickup. We use 3.5 foot sight of eye, which is what the National AASHTO system uses for sight distance. We use that height for both ends. If you look up the definition of that stopping sight distance, which is where our 500 feet comes from, AASHTO's 55 mile an hour stopping sight distance is published as 495 feet. That's using a sight of eye of a vehicle, a person sitting in a vehicle at 3.5 feet off the ground and seeing a 2-foot object that distance away. We use 3.5 just because you're looking to see any part of a vehicle. Most vehicles, cars, in low profile, you're gonna see at 3.5 feet. The driveway policy as it's currently in place, we haven't, talked about what all options you want to consider as a variance, but the Board of Supervisors has granted a driveway improvement at a location with less than 500 feet because of some of its use, at least currently. That's not to say that 10 years from now or 50 years from now that might change, but certainly a policy could be changed by the Board of Supervisors at any given time. We had one, I think, more like 5 or 6 years ago that involved a semi that needed a driveway widened, didn't have the sight distance, but with the semi itself, it would be seen, at least part of, at 500 feet, and made an exception and put up a sign for that driveway. I think that property owner has since sold that property and it's being used differently. Now, I say that in the sense that a future owner may have some different use that may have some concern. From a safety standpoint is how that driveway policy was put together. I do believe that because of the terrain on this particular roadway, that the vehicles traveling on it, the vast majority are probably not traveling more than 40, 45 miles an hour. That's just a guess on my part, but it's just by nature of the way the road lays that you don't have as fast a traffic as you might have out there on a more flat rolling area.
Correct.
And when you deal with a speed that's less like that, then obviously that stopping distance, taking into account reaction time to when you see something and stopping, drops considerably. At 40 feet, I think that table, if I memorized it this morning correctly, is just over 300 feet, and at 45 miles an hour, you're talking, I think, about 360 feet.
Can I add something to that without being rude?
Mm-hmm.
The stopping distance that's in question is coming from the north to the south.
That would,
The driveway is on the east side of the road. The 500 feet of clearance, there's 2,000 feet on the, going from south to north, which is where the danger zone would be. The people coming towards the driveway, because you're gonna turn right, they're coming north to south, is where the 500 feet's in question.
Correct.
They'd be on the wrong side of the road to hit anything on that road. They would have to be on the wrong side of the road. Because we're going this way, okay, there's 2,000 feet of clearance here. Coming this way, there's only 400, I thought he said 475, 425, whatever it is, we're talking a few feet, either way. But coming north to south is where the 500 feet comes into play.
correct.
So, and the only reason we need to widen that driveway isn't for general use, it's to get her house in. That's for her contractor to get her modular home in. So, and they would put up flagman at the top of the hill and the whole thing. They went over this with me in detail. That's the only thing I wanted to add to that. I don't disagree with anything that you said there.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that you said is 100% accurate. But there is a house just down the road from me on a big side hill that's coming down that hill that there's nowhere close to 500 feet, and that's a dangerous hill, and she's on the wrong side. There's cars in that ditch constantly, and you guys granted that driveway.
So in order to get this squared around, we could lower the speed limit on that road?
That ain't gonna stop people from driving. It's a gravel road, sir. They're gonna do what they do.
I think it's 45 to begin with.
It is 45 to begin with, but it does not matter. If somebody's gonna break the law on that road, they're gonna break the law on that road. You could put the speed limit at 15. Does that mean anybody's gonna obey it? No, sir. And I'm not trying to be rude or obnoxious. You know how people drive. You know people don't care out in the country.
So the other thing we could do maybe would be to
put up a sign.
Put the driveway in and then take it out after the house is in?
You sure can. If you can widen it for that and then pull it back out, I'd be willing to pay for that. That's not a problem. I just need the house to be able to get up there, and we need to use that driveway that exists. Because the existing driveway is more than capable of holding any traffic my daughter will bring up there. It's her, her husband, and my grandbaby and my future grandbaby, because she's pregnant. There's gonna be, the guy still has access that farms my field. He's still gonna bring his combines in there, his wagons, his cattle trailers. Because Caleb,
It's Calvin, I don't know.
Calvin and
his name.
Kayla, they're from Ryan, they rent my field, I can't think of it off the top of my head, but they brought machinery and all kinds of stuff in there for years. Johnny D-Clots used to bring stuff in there for years. We've never had a problem with that driveway. But again, the line of sight problem is if you're traveling north to south, which is the wrong side of the road for where we're going. So if there was a sign up there saying driveway ahead or something, school bus stop or something, that might help, but people are gonna travel the speed they're gonna travel on that gravel road. We have people that travel 70 on that stupid road, and we have people that travel 25. Yes, they break the law. Can you stop them? No. And you know it as well as I do.
You just want to add a couple feet to the driveway.
6 feet's all I need for my contractor. And we need to be able to use that driveway, because if we put one up on top of the hill where he says meets the line of sight, you're gonna cut into a lot of field ground that does not need to be wasted. And I mean, the way the fields are shrinking anyway with all these new houses being built, eating up agricultural ground at this point in time is just a bad deal. I could get it if it was junk ground that you couldn't do nothing with, but this is good cropland. We can raise any kind of crop you want on that land.
So what would we be talking to put a driveway 6 feet in? and
It's
then take it out?
$450.
To put it in?
Yep.
And then what would it cost to take it out? Approximately the same? You're not gonna have the material costs, it's more the labor.
Or you don't have to take it out. It ain't hurting nothing to be there.
It's a liability issue
Okay,
on the county's behalf.
okay. I don't know all your rules and regulations. I was just saying, if it stays there, we don't care.
It's
We
not
just
a
want 'em to get
rule or
their house.
regulation as to whether or not we get sued.
Oh, yeah, that I would care about.
You know, we've got a 500-foot sight distance.
Right, that's why I'm asking for a variance.
And we have turned other requests down.
I understand that too.
And
And you've okayed some.
I don't recall them.
I can walk you up and show you one, the house built 2 years ago.
But again, if they asked for a change, that's one thing. If they didn't and asked to build the house, it's different.
I get it,
Yeah.
We gotta be able to get the house in there. That's
I
the
get
only
it.
issue I got.
But you had said you would be willing to pay to put it in
Yep.
and take it out.
Yes. If that's what it takes, yes. I need 6 feet.
Because I don't think you're gonna be able to plank it to get it.
Cannot, because we're moving 3-section house into it. This is a prefab home. It's gonna be on a 54-footer. Semis can go in the existing driveway, but this guy don't think he can make it with his equipment,
Sure.
because he's came out and looked at the site. It's the home guys out of Urbana that's putting it in out there. Steve's the guy's name, I believe.
That only being 6 feet, Rick, 450 is probably on the high side for doing the work, just because you're not involving as much material,
Sure.
and then though you wouldn't be able to do that all at the same time. Like you say, removing is probably a little bit less. Ballpark, 600-ish, probably to go there twice, to do the installation and then the removal. The removal would happen quicker than it would the installation.
Sure.
And again, I'm willing to pay for it, if that's what it takes. I mean, I just want my daughter happy. We've all got them, guys. We got to keep them happy. You know how that goes.
On
on the removal part, where you're just talking about, you're gonna put the dirt in to widen the driveway and then take it back out to the existing driveway, right?
Correct, and I think I know that there is a culvert there, so
Yep.
the person's gonna have to use a section of culvert to extend to that,
Yep,
to widen that driveway to do what Chuck is asking to have done.
Absolutely.
And you would have that culvert to take off and take back. And
Yep.
that $450 wouldn't have included the cost of the culvert, I'm sure. So
correct.
the culvert could be reused by Seminary Road, so, whether it's there for 2 days or whether it's there for 2 weeks, depending on the timing, it might be more or less.
It'd probably be 2 weeks,
But just.
because they bring them all in the same day. And once the house is in there, you can pull it right back out. That's not an issue.
What's the likelihood of using 6-foot culvert elsewhere?
Outside of what I have, because of the lengths that we install, it might be a 10 or a 12-foot piece. If it's only gonna be temporary, there's probably an 18-inch piece of culvert that's 10 foot long, plus or minus 4 feet, sitting in the corner of our yard that was cut off from a stock piece that we use. 10 foot is very commonly used in our application. And so I'm sure that there's probably a partial piece that could be used in this application, taken back and easily reused on a future job.
Okay. Next question is, would you have time to do this?
More than likely, I know that although there have been driveway requests coming in, most of them have been before harvest has started at this point, so we certainly have routine driveways requests to have looked at throughout the year that happen this time of the year. But I think right now, outside of looking at everyone's schedules and everything, it would not be too hard probably to get something scheduled relatively easily in a timely manner.
Our contractor says he's good to go as soon as we can get the driveway widened out, just to add that in, which means he'll be in and out in a couple of days. You won't be tied up with your liability for an extended length of time. It'll be a short period of time. If we tell him you're gonna put it in on the 27th, he'll be good to go by the 29th.
Is the foundation in for the house?
No, it is not. They can't put the foundation in until we get an address. We have to get an address. In order to get an address, we gotta have access. We gotta have the road to where they can give the road an access. So please turn it off.
And the land use hearing isn't gonna be till, I think it's the 17th, is that when it is?
31st.
Charles,
I do not know, it's my daughter.
let's see what we.
She doesn't
yeah.
tell me nothing.
Cody and Jessica?
Yeah, Cody and Jessica Randall.
Yeah, it's the 31st.
Okay, so as soon as we can get all them ducks in a row, the contractor's good to go, guys. So it won't be tied up for an extended period of time, the liabilities won't be there, we'll get it in and out as soon as possible. I don't know what else I can tell you, fellas, ladies. Sorry, I wasn't even gonna leave you girls out.
Please do.
Well, I don't wanna be
It's
rude.
fine.
Tracy, yes, we would, I guess, potentially just remove it back to where the existing driveway is. We have had situations in the past where somebody has chose to try to alter their driveway themselves that we've encountered that didn't meet our
That's-
driveway policy, and we went back and done basically that, we have removed it back to where the existing thing. I say that not in the sense that I'm expecting.
No, I wouldn't do no such of a thing, because that's illegal, and then all the liability in the world would be on me. And not to mention the county would be on me, so I'm not down
I
with
mentioned
that, fellas.
only, I guess, to try to answer Tracy's question. that is
Yep,
that
I
we
100%
would-
understand.
We would basically take out what we put in.
Correct, and that'd be perfectly, that's absolutely acceptable.
Is the driveway rock now?
Yes,
Okay.
So on the drive, let's say you put in part of a driveway, do you rock that and everything? Or would it need to be rocked?
it'll need to be rocked, yes. And then that'll have to come back out also.
Well, there has been a number of studies.
Again, this is in a place where it's very accessible. You can drive into the hayfield at this time of the year, back up and dump your stuff without obstructing the road at all. At this time of the year, there's nothing happening in that hayfield. It's just sitting, because all the hay's done for the year. So you could do all your work from the field side. You wouldn't have to do a whole lot down on the road, as far as bringing in the gravel and so forth and so on.
Currently a field entrance, when we've altered field entrances and rock roads, we have not rocked the surface. When we have altered driveways on gravel roads that are a house entrance, we have typically added just enough rock to cover the width in the right of way. So the rock that's there has probably been placed by the property owner
Yep.
and a little bit of
Whatever the road grader
residual
pushes over.
Yeah.
Yep.
As routine passes. it comes
And
with
my
movement.
daughter is gonna go ahead and take care of the gravel up to her driveway and so forth like that. But I didn't know that if it would hold without putting gravel on it, as far as not crushing your pipe that you put in, when that guy brings the house in. That would be my question to you on that. And I'm sure you're more experienced on that than I am. I just don't wanna find any potential problems down the road that you guys are gonna look at me and say, well, you told us it'd be okay.
That's why we use the metal pipes we use.
Yep.
Because a lot of them are just covered with dirt and then you start running heavy equipment over.
Okay.
it. And
Because we're gonna run 3 semis through carrying a third of a house each. It's a 2,600 foot, or 2,200 foot house. So that tells you what's coming in.
I'm not in favor of approving the variance, but I don't have a problem if he's willing to stand all the cost to put a temporary driveway in to get the house in, and then removing it and assessing all that cost to him.
My question to that is gonna be, will that driveway work once we're done? Are you gonna make me build a new driveway up on top of that hill for her house access, or can I use the existing field driveway for her access?
From what I understand, just like some other homes that we have approved and used existing driveways, you know, I don't see a problem
Perfect.
with that.
Yeah, I don't have a problem observing the cost.
I mean, that's basically what it is.
Mhm.
As long as they use the existing driveway and don't make any modifications
Correct.
other than a temporary here.
I don't have any problem absorbing the cost of that. None.
Is there any signage we can put up? And of course, I would assume they would have flagmen there when they're
There's
going
going to be,
in and
he's
out.
guaranteed me, Steve's told me that there will be flagging when they're going in and out. Yep.
So, you know, that would be important.
And we could even sign something saying that he has to have them there to cover everybody's hind end, so to speak.
I mean, if there are school-age children there and the school bus would potentially be making a stop there, we do have numerous locations in the county where usually that request comes from the school district, occasionally from a property owner, but we've gone out, confirmed site distance, and have placed school bus stop ahead signs in places. I say that only because Chuck had kind of mentioned that.
There won't be any school-age kids going through there because she takes the kids to Center Point. So she drives them, they don't go to Benton. They both went to school in Center Point, they like the Center Point system. And she's a nurse, she works the weekend shift, she works Saturday and Sunday, 12 hours each day, and gets paid for 40. God, I want that shift. And so she's home all week with the kids, and she drives them to and picks them up. So there will be not be a school bus stop there. There is, however, a school bus stop down the road from me, which is across from my grandfather's old place. It's 6247 is where the school bus stop is, and then there's one at 6266, I believe. Or 6166, I'm sorry. Both neighbors over there have school-age kids that go to Benton.
Well, that's on down the road.
That wouldn't affect
Should-
that driveway,
Should
correct.
anything change as far as school, it would be up to, Myron said, the district to have that request.
Then I would notify them, and yep.
Yeah, so that's down the road. Okay.
I mean, all of these thoughts, just to continue your thought process a tiny bit, is that you do have a land use hearing coming up on the 31st of October that's going to do the same site distance report from secondary roads. If there is still some concern on your end, you know, beyond the temporary driveway aspect, could be all addressed with part of that land use hearing on the 31st.
Before that happens, she's gonna start that building process, though. She's got the well and septic guy ready to go, and she's ready to start the building process, so I don't know if she's gonna hold off till the 31st, so I might have to talk to her about that. If I could get a decision from you guys, let me know what I need to tell her, because I don't feel like getting my butt chewed too bad.
She should wait till the 31st.
Okay, I can tell her that, text sis. I call my daughter sis, I apologize. She had two younger brothers growing up and they always hollered sis, so I confused some of the people. They kept asking, is this my sister or my daughter when we were talking? So.
Getting back to the driveway. Did you want to make that your motion? How's it ordered in our,
Well, and again,
Discuss
going
and
back to
approve
what's
driveway
coming
variance.
up with the land use change, you know, and that would be with an existing driveway,
right,
not adding the temporary to it. And so, how'd that one work with All Press?
You denied it.
Was they putting a house there?
Remember, they had storage
storage
units
unit.
there.
Storage units were
Yeah.
already there, nothing was changing. Were they building a house as well, or just selling it?
They were just selling it.
Splitting it off,
And
if
they
I
were
remember
gonna
right.
split it,
That's what they were doing, was splitting it
splitting
off.
it.
Trying to remember what that was all entailed. And she's not gonna be able to do a 911 address till this is approved. So,
That's what's holding us up, is because I can't do anything with the lawyer until I get a 911 address.
you can't do anything, period, till you get this.
Correct. That's what the lawyer's telling me. That's why,
Yeah, and so literally, this is the cart in front of the horse. The variance request. So based on this, I would say I'd make a motion to deny the variance request. That's what's here. And if we do anything different, for temporary, that should come with this.
Okay,
That's
you
the way I see it.
understand
no, not at all.
that? Okay.
Okay, because you can't see what I'm talking this and that.
Correct. What you're saying is you want to deny the variance based on the fact that the house hasn't been approved yet. The land use
Correct.
change has not been approved yet.
Correct.
Let me ask a question then. Who can stop the land use change?
Well, we can,
Based on what?
site distance.
Site distance is irrelevant because they want to put a driveway on top of a hill. Either way, the land is going to be used as a house. Because Randy that came out, I believe that's his name, isn't that correct, Randy? He said we could put a driveway on top of the hill and they would approve it, no problem. The land use, I can give my daughter my land. She can build on it if she chooses to. The only people that can stop that would be you guys based on the people around me saying they don't want a house there, is the way I understand this. If I'm wrong, please straighten me out. But that's what I understand.
That's part of the criteria.
Yeah. I don't know what the other criteria is, but there'd be no reason to deny a house out there. There's many houses that have went up new out in this area. There'd be no reason to deny that. It's just a matter of basing where the driveway has to be. That's the only criteria I see to the land use change. If I'm wrong, please correct me.
I don't recall, to be very honest, and not being an attorney, so.
Well, I'm definitely not, dude, I'll guarantee you.
So if we denied land use changes, I know all presses because they were gonna split that off. And we denied them,
Pros.
you know, and that had to do with, I think there was a contingency in the offer and acceptance that a new driveway be put in.
I believe you're correct on that.
In order for that sale to go through.
That is
in
correct.
splitting the property off.
That is correct, Rick.
Okay, so, you know, as long as we have approved new construction with existing driveways that don't meet criteria, that's an issue. What do you guys think?
Well, to me, we could wrap this all up October 31st.
That's kind of what I'm thinking.
Is this a meeting I can attend?
Yes,
Of course,
definitely,
of course.
just like you are now.
Well, I don't want to be an ass, but I do want to get my 2 cents worth. You guys know exactly where I stand.
Yep,
I'm trying to satisfy my daughter
yep,
in the easiest way possible. Eventually, she'll probably own that section anyway. He'll farm it, but she'll own it.
yep.
And it's gonna be continued probably as a hayfield since it has since 1950. It's never changed to anything other than a hayfield. And I just have to have that easement, which is what the attorneys made for me. She don't have any access to any of the rest of that field, just the easement for the existing driveway and the path that goes up to her house.
Right.
I don't know what else I need to explain to you gentlemen, but we're gonna table this till the 31st, is basically what you're telling me?
Right.
Okay.
No, we're going to deny the variance.
Well, we're gonna, yeah, what you're asking for today, we're gonna deny.
So then I gotta refight this battle?
No,
No,
no.
You've got me confused,
I
fellas.
figured that.
Somebody come at me in big dummy terms here.
October 31st, when we have the land use hearing for that,
Okay?
then we can tie this driveway deal in with it.
Yep.
Okay.
the temporary widening of
The
the.
temporary widening is what the
Yes.
holdup is
Where it
here.
goes in and comes back out in
Okay.
a couple weeks or whatever it takes to,
So we couldn't get this done first and then fight the other battle?
no, not really.
Because the other battle's the main one and this is a subsidiary.
Yeah, to me, the
Subsidiary.
driveway's more important than the house.
But to her, the house is more important than the
I
driveway,
know,
trust me.
I know it.
Okay, so we don't have an issue with the line of sight. Is that what you're telling me?
Well, we do, that's why we would deny this.
You just ran me in a 360, sir.
You asked us to put in a new driveway.
Can I see that paper?
Okay.
I'd love to read it, just to see what the hell it says. Because you're telling me this, and I don't understand what this and this is.
I get it. That's a variance on the driveway, to put in a new driveway.
Correct. Okay, so you're gonna deny this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna refight it on the 31st?
This, you would ask for a temporary widening.
Yes, that's what I've asked for.
Yeah.
So I need to ask for it again?
First, on the 31st.
So I'll need to ask for it again on the
Yeah,
31st?
because this isn't asking for temporary, this is asking for permanent.
Perfect, that's what I needed to know. Absolutely. Put it in big dummy terms so I can understand it, boss. So,
Is that
I guess our
correct?
business is done then?
Mm-hmm.
I can leave? Okay. And you're gonna put me back on the docket for the 31st then?
It's already on, Charles.
Okay.
Everything's already on.
And it's gonna be, can I get something that tells me when, what time, and all that good happy stuff?
Your daughter has all that.
That's her, that's not me.
9:15 a.m.
Huh?
9:15 a.m.
9:15
On the
Write that in
31st.
your phone, please.
Halloween, 9:15.
We can do it. Okay, and then we'll take it up again.
Yeah.
Is this gonna be the same group?
You got it.
Great, you get arm
Should
wrestle with the same
change by
group of
then.
guys.
So,
Which one of you is bringing the beer? Well, I'll do it, I'm easy. All right, thanks, fellas,
Yeah,
ladies,
thank you.
appreciate your time.
So to take formal action on this, I'll make a motion that we deny.
Well, I'll just withdraw it, and that makes it easy.
Okay. Okay.
Perfect. And we'll take it up on the 31st.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you.
Myron, do my best to get you back on schedule.
Do you need?
Nope, I just need a signature from him, and I'm gonna go back to my spot, and turn it over to you and them. 17th Avenue. I think I made reference to, is it Tom Kaiser? Does that sound right?
Yep.
There's a bridge north of him and a bridge south of him. That's right, because we bought the
Yeah.
right of way a week
Yeah.
ago.
Yeah.
For one of the property owners that has north of him. They still need to get more paperwork for right of way on the other side of the road and the bridge to the south. But what I have in front of me is the final plan set for the twin box culvert that would be going north of Kaiser's. And then the bridge, single span beam bridge, concrete deck that would be going south of him. One's pairing 127, one's pairing 128, but I need the approval of the board for that final plan set and the signature of said bodies on the title sheet.
Make a motion that we approve both projects and authorize the signature.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Tintin. And that's all I have while they're signing. If you want to keep moving, Tracy, I will.
Okay.
Get out here and see you later.
Yep.
There's the two on the
We got two here.
Treat yourself coming.
Pretty much today.
Yeah.
Busy day, right, Sue?
We got a full one, don't we?
Do you need dates here?
No. Tracy put a date there, so. We should be once is good enough.
I'm sure it is. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. If you got any questions, I guess I'll be back with you later. We can save them to there and
Okay,
keep you on schedule,
okay,
if that works.
awesome. This one though. I'll let Rick take the motion.
Be sure, I promise. You know this. You know I'll be quick.
Perfect.
Are you wanting these, to do these now?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, well, this is a motion to approve the Traveling Tapster LLC, Class C. And this is for November 3rd through the 7th.
Second. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
With this initial, Haley?
Tracy has to sign this one.
Okay.
We're not an alcohol-free county.
I'd also make a motion on approving McBride Mobile Taps LLC. And this is for special class C retail alcohol license for November 7th through the 11th.
Need a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Quarterly report.
These you want on the back initials?
Okay, trifold.
Yep. Make a motion that we approve the auditor's report, quarterly report.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yours usually has some good numbers. And I'd make a motion that we approve the recorder's quarterly report.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Last but not least.
And you also have a resignation over there.
I have to ask him,
Sure.
do we have a resignation letter?
I do not do the resignation.
I sure do.
It's on the other side. Sorry.
Did you do the recorders?
Yes.
Sorry, so we were talking to you. Okay. Motion. Not sure.
No. We're looking at the sheriff.
She's already quit, huh?
And I'd make a motion that we acknowledge the sheriff's quarterly report, approve it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Haley, do you want it on the back of all of this, or do you want it just on the cover?
Wherever, I just have to show the auditors that you guys looked at it and approved it.
As long as you fold them all
I
together?
trifold it.
Okay, as long as you put them all in there.
Yep.
Didn't want to sign something that's going in the round file.
Those in that back office of mine with those lateral plans.
And how long had Mary been with transportation?
You know, she was here years ago and then retired
Yeah.
and kind of came back on a part-time basis. So I'm not sure how
I was our
long
director for a
since she's been
Yeah,
back.
yeah.
But
Good.
she just said she's ready to really retire this time.
Second time, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I will make a motion, we accept her resignation.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 And thank her for her many years of service.
Yeah, finally, girls.
Good morning.
Morning.
Yeah, we were just noticing how you two coordinated your outfits today. You look great.
Yeah. Thank you.
So a few things, excuse me, to update you on today. It's been a little while since I've been here to give a regional update, so I wanted to share a few things. First of all, as you know, Senate File 471 passed last legislative session, which mandated a change in the composition of the regional governing boards. So no longer will we have a member from every of the counties. I'm sure you guys have heard about this and you know about it, but I just kind of want to talk a little bit about the process that we went through. So the law mandated that we have 7 positions that we have to have. So one was an adult with lived experience, another was a parent or involved relative of a child with serious emotional disturbance. Those are not new positions. An education representative, also not new. We had previously a provider of adult services and a provider of children's services, but those previously were not voting members. So the law changed those 2 to become voting members. And then they added 2 new positions. So those 5 are all pretty standard. They added 2 new positions, and one was a representative from the Department of, from law enforcement, and another from the judicial system. So they added those 2, that's 7. So then they said the members of the elected boards of supervisors may only make up 49%. So if we have 7 that are mandated membership, that meant we could only have 6 members that were elected county supervisors. We had a subcommittee of Dewey Hildebrandt, our chair, Ann McDonough from Dubuque County, and Shirley Helmrichs from Delaware County, and we met, and there were a lot of different discussions, a lot of things on the table, and one of our primary concerns was if we have to go from 9 members of boards of supervisors on our board to 6, how do we ensure that those 3 who are not still stay engaged and are active in the region? As you know, we have a goal about being a cohesive region, so we wanted to make sure that we still had active engagement. What we ended up doing is the committee recommended that they would like the leadership of the region to stay the same. So Dewey as chair and Ben Rogers from Lynn County as vice chair. So they said just for continuity and stability, we want those 2 positions to stay. So we put Bremer County and Lynn County at the top. And then after a lot of discussion and throwing around a lot of different ideas, we decided that honestly the most fair thing to do was then just go alphabetical. So we put Bremer and Lynn at the top, and then we went alphabetical after that. So if you see the table in the middle of the page that I sent around, we had the 2 and then the next 4 counties alphabetically. So we have Benton, Buchanan, Delaware, and Dubuque. You see that Iowa, Johnson, and Jones are not then included. Back to that topic of engagement. We threw around a lot of ideas about length of time. How long would these board members serve? Some other regions have done 2 years, some have done 3 years, and our committee recommended really that those lengths of term be 1 year, because 12 months goes pretty quickly. And so if you're one of the counties that rotates off, in 12 months you're back on. So it was an attempt to they could still come to the meetings, they could Zoom in if they didn't want to come in person. The very first term you'll see at the top of that table is actually 18 months, because the committee wanted us to get on the cycle of the calendar year, because that's all your election cycles. So they wanted it to be, with the calendar year. So the first term is 18 months until the end of 2024, and then you see after that, then they're 1-year terms. So what we did is we took the 3 counties at the bottom and we moved them to the top. And so you can see it just rotates, and it'll rotate each year. So we'll have 3 counties that won't have members of the boards of supervisors that won't be represented each year. The committee had also recommended, which was approved by the board and surprisingly a little bit for me, approved by the state, is that the chair and vice chair of the regional governing board will always remain members of the board of supervisors, that it won't be any of those other 7 members. And I was kind of surprised that HHS didn't say anything about it, but they didn't. So we've already, I think, have you guys signed the 2080?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think you signed it. a couple weeks ago, yeah, a couple weeks ago you signed it, and I think all counties have now, so we'll ask Gary to actually put a signature on the signature sheet that has all the counties on there at our October board meeting. The additional members, I already talked to them about them a little bit, but those two new members, Johnny Hill represents law enforcement. Johnny is actually the assistant director of the 1st Judicial District, and he's a Department of Corrections employee, but in the code, Department of Corrections is synonymous with law enforcement. So Johnny represents more that northwest corner of the region with the 1st Judicial District. And then we have Chris Lyons representing the judicial system, and he's the county attorney in Jones County. So we tried really hard to make sure that we had equal representation across our 9 counties. We initially did not have a representative from Iowa County. And John Deegan, our Iowa County representative, when he went off the board, he said that the other 4 supervisors in Iowa County said, well, what about us? You know, how are we gonna know that we have a good voice at the table? And John said, this region really believes in being a cohesive region, and those other counties are gonna take care of us. And he's absolutely right. You know, I mean, we look at it comprehensively as 9 counties. But actually, right now, we do have, after 3 years, we do have a parent who is applying to become a member of the Regional Governing Board from Iowa County. So we're going to get that Iowa County representation, which I'm really happy about on there. So any questions or comments about the Regional Governing Board and kind of how that all shook out? Great.
Feel very Vanna White-ish today.
She's done a great job.
Thank you.
So the next thing that I want to share is a little bit about regional finances. So you know that for several years, since before I was the CEO, that the East Central region has had an excess of fund balance. You know that we've been directed and lately mandated by the state to reduce that fund balance. So in the legislative session of 2021, when they passed Senate File 619, that said you have to have a fund balance at 40% at the end of FY22, 20% at the end of FY23, 5% at the end of FY24, and then 5% maintaining after this. In FY22, we ended the year at 66%. We were supposed to be at 40. So what that translated to mean was 66% or 26% over the limit translated for us to $6.4 million. So that meant the state reduced our payment by $6.4 million last year in FY23. So we didn't get the state revenue, but we kept our own revenue, right? Like our total amount available was the same no matter what. So they reduced our state payment in FY23 by 3.2 in the third quarter and the fourth quarter. But in FY23, we were making the efforts to get from 40% to 20%, right? So in the last half of last fiscal year in FY23, in January, I went to the Regional Governing Board and said, we need to spend $4.4 million in order for us just to get at our budget authority. We didn't need to do a budget amendment, we just needed to get to budget authority. And then, alarmingly so, in May, Deb Gard, our finance coordinator, said, we need to spend another $4 million. And actually, I know, right? This is so counterintuitive to like government spending and budgeting. Between the May Regional Governing Board meeting and the June Regional Governing Board meeting, I authorized $5.3 million worth of funds. And let me tell you, I did not like it at all. I mean, I don't think authorizing that much funds in a 3-week period is fiscally responsible. It's not strategic. Even though what we authorized, I always bounce things against the strategic plan to make sure, but it's just not real planful. So Deb's most recent figures that she shared with the board, and did we meet 2 weeks ago? Of course, we don't have the accrual done yet, but her estimate as close as she can get is that we are going to end FY23 at 18%. So 2% below the mandate. which means this year we will get our full state payment. The full state payment is about $25.2 million. So we'll get all of that money this year. But keep in mind, we got to get down to 5%. So we had to, get us from the 18 where we ended down to 5 at the end of this year. So I have been pretty clear that nobody really likes, this concept of like a fire sale at the end of the fiscal year to try to spend those funds down. So Deb and I put a plan into place in order for us to manage and to check in with the budget more closely so that we don't get to the second half of the fiscal year again and say, oh my gosh, what are we gonna do, right? So that's what you see. I'm not gonna go through this in detail, but what our plan entails is, first of all, we are, it's not reconvening, because we've always had a board finance subcommittee, but they haven't met very frequently. So we're actually enhancing the board finance subcommittee, that they'll meet at least quarterly, and we've added several representatives. We used to just have 2 members that were boards of supervisors from the board, and then Deb, Julie Davison, our claims representative, and I. So you see in here, we're adding a provider representative, the children's, adult provider, children's provider, and a member from the Regional Advisory Committee. So we have that all done. We're setting up a meeting for the Finance Committee. The other part is we're hiring an assistant finance coordinator to help Deb out. We would like Deb to get more into predictive analytics. First diagnostic and then descriptive analytics. Descriptive, then diagnostic, then predictive. So we want Deb to be able to have more time to spend on really digging in about what's going on. Because really, in January, she and I had done a re-estimate of the budget, and we're like, okay, we need to spend 4.4. And then in May, when she came and said, we need to spend another 4 million, we need to know that stuff a lot further ahead of time. So hiring an assistant finance coordinator to take some of the day-to-day stuff off of Deb's plate so she can spend more time with that. The part here that I really want to point out is on the second page, that table in the middle. And this is the part that I think will make sure that we keep ourselves on pace this year. So we will do this month at the regional board meeting, we will do a formal check-in on our budget. Generally speaking, historically speaking, we have done that in January. Deb and I do a re-estimate of the budget, where we think where we're at, where we think we're gonna end the year. Like I said, this year we did it, we said we need to spend 4.4, but we can't do that just once a year anymore. So we'll be doing that this month, at the end of this month, and if we have not spent 25% of our budget, so July through September, we'll have all the figures in. If we have not spent 25% of our budget, then I may recommend some of those projects on the right-hand side of that table. And those projects take a little bit longer to plan, and so that's why they're earlier in the fiscal year. Like, these are some things that we can do to make sure that we stay on pace with our budget. And if we're not just with regular operations, here are some additional things that we can do. Those take a little bit longer to plan, so those things are at the first part of the first check-in. Deb and I will do our historical general check-in in January, and then we'll check in again with the budget in February. And in February, if we haven't spent 58% of the budget, then we may recommend some of those things in that next box on the right-hand side, which take a little less time to plan, but still take some time to plan. So those would be things that we would consider in February. And then finally, you see the final check-in again in May. And if we haven't spent 83% of the budget, those are some of those like last-minute things that we could do in order to get our fund balance down to below 5%. Our budget this year is $29.4 million. If you remember, a little bit ago, I said our revenue from the state will be 25.2. So we need about $4 million from our reserve, from our fund balance, in order to get us down to below 5%. Right now, if we stay on pace, so again, we're gonna do these check-ins to make sure that we stay on pace. If we stay on pace and we spend $29.4 million this year, we will end the fiscal year at 3%. So below the 5% that's mandated. So we're trying to get there. Any questions about that? I know it's weird, isn't it? Never budgeted like this in my life.
I agree, Deb does need that assistant, because she's awesome.
Yeah.
Like, when she takes, that way she has time to go to our counties and sit down with us too. Like,
She said she had a really good meeting with you guys. Yeah.
Yep, so, and I liked it too.
Good.
It's just, we all are on the same page that way. And
well, we're having a really hard time finding that assistant, so if you know somebody, send them our way. Because they did some interviews last week and we're considering it a failed search, and
This
so.
is kind of like foreign language to everybody though, it's just so crazy.
You
so-
gotta find the right person. So we're still advertising right now, and if we don't get a good applicant, Deb and I just talked yesterday about pulling the ad and then maybe trying again in a couple months.
Yeah, it was really nice, because if there was something that didn't make sense in a report, it was just like, we're gonna rerun it, we're gonna modify this.
Yep.
While I pass these out, do you want to talk about the emails that have been coming to them every month with the packet?
Oh, sure, yeah. Yeah, so, back to that topic of the board and making sure that all board members stay engaged. We also decided this year to change up communication a little bit. So we have a communications subcommittee of our staff. It's made up of my administrative assistant, one coordinator, and one of our children's navigators. And they, every month, are creating just a message, like, generally, here's what's happening in the region, because I don't get out to you every month, right? So kind of here's a general what's happening in the region. And they're sending that to the coordinator, the local coordinator, and then she'll send it to you. So Mona's been sending you with the board packet, kind of a summary of this month, what's been happening. So our communications committee develops that so it's consistent across all 9 counties. And we made the decision that we will send it to all of the supervisors, not just the regional governing board liaison, just to help people to feel engaged and so that they know what's happening at the regional level.
Yep. And that way, if for some reason somebody has to send in an alternate,
Yeah.
or they kind
Yeah,
of know
not
what's
just
going
me.
on, and they're not just kind of coming in blind, so.
All right, the very last thing should look a little familiar. So our FY24 priority initiatives, you should hopefully recognize the format that we put them in the priority tiers, not necessarily because things in tier 2 or 3 are less important, but a lot of times those things in tier 2 or 3 are continued work that maybe they were in tier 1 the year before, and so we're just continuing the work. Sometimes they're in tier 2 or 3 because we don't maybe see that they're our primary responsibility, but we're a good partner in the work that needs to be done. So, and they're really in no order within the tiers, but the first one you see there is ensure a smooth transition for the regional governing board of changing it. We had last month after the regional governing board meeting, we had a board retreat. So for some of our new members to get to know the old members, just for everybody to get to know each other and kind of talk about the region moving forward. So ensuring that smooth transition. The second one is the FY24 budget. I've just talked a lot about that. So making sure that we are balancing our responsibility to the taxpayers, our responsibility to the state to be below 5%, but still providing the services that are needed. The next one, creatively working with traditional and non-traditional partners. This is to support people who are a little bit more difficult to serve. There are 4 services in the code that we are required to provide that really address those folks that have more complex needs. So those are listed there. Assisted outpatient treatment, community-based restoration, which is a new service for us, permanent supportive housing, and IRSH. So we have some non-traditional providers, that permanent supportive housing. People who really get more into that work are homeless shelters. So those are kind of non-traditional providers, but we're starting to work more with them to ensure that that service is available. And the assistant outpatient treatment is a pilot project in Johnson County right now with hopes for expansion into other counties in the region. Again, that's a little bit non-traditional, working with the judicial system a little bit differently than we have. And then the last one in that is working with other regions to make sure that we address access, service development, and community-based support. The state HHS encourages the regions to work together, and they encourage us to have standardization of things like eligibility. And as Gary knows, I put it in my weekly update last week to the board. We have a meeting with Director Garcia from HHS on Thursday of this week, and we're expecting that Director Garcia will maybe announce some changes that are coming to the regions. So we'll see. HHS has engaged in an assessment of all of their services. So keep in mind, it's public health and DHS, the former DHS now. So they've engaged a company called HMA to do an assessment. There's been focus meetings, I'm sure you've seen the notices. HMA's assessment is due, it always said mid-October. And Director Garcia requested to meet with all of us CEOs on Thursday. So we're like, this is just ahead of the report coming out. So we'll see. I'll get the word out when I know. Anyway, we have a commitment to working with other regions. One example of that is IRSH and the intensive residential support. A year ago in March of 22, we had put out an RFP for IRSH services and we got 0 bids. We didn't have any providers who felt that they could develop that service. And so in March of this year, we partnered with the Eastern Iowa region, our friends to the southeast of us. We put out a joint RFP. Lori Elam, the CEO down there, and I hoped that the power, the stability of 2 regions would be more attractive to providers in developing IRSH, and we did get a proposal, and we are in contract with Abbey Community Health to develop that service in Lynn County this year, and then once that's up and running, they will develop the same service in Eastern Iowa region. So again, working together as regions to make sure that we get services for people.
And you guys know what IRSH is, right?
Intensive residential support. It's just
So for like super complex
yeah,
cases.
people who have co-occurring needs, generally speaking, people who have intellectual disability and brain health needs. And those folks that are really, really hard to serve. There's different levels of training that are required of the staff. It's about the highest level of care that you can get outside of an institution in the community. So that's it in Tier 1. Any comments, questions about that? Great. Tiers 2 and 3, again, a little bit less complicated because a lot of them are continued work. So the first one is about co-occurring. We had a legislative priority last year for the state of Iowa to address people who have substance use disorder and brain health needs together. In Iowa, we are very far behind the rest of the country who treats people with those 2 needs together. Right now, the law in Iowa, we may not, it's against the law for us to pay for substance use treatment out of the Regional Services Fund. And we'd like to get that changed. We'd like to have truly, authentically integrated treatment. Mona has sat on that committee and has done a really great job, that committee, and we will be proposing that as a legislative priority again this year, as well as doing other work that we're doing for prevention and treatment and recovery. Enhance relationships with school system and law enforcement to prevent and address threats of school violence. There's nothing to say that school systems and law enforcement aren't already paying attention to threats of school violence, but we'd like to kind of get in the fray and in the discussion and talk about prevention, about what we can do to help prevent those situations from happening via social emotional learning and brain health support for students. And then the data structure, that's a continuation, moving towards having a data warehouse in our region where we are more robust with our data. We have entered into a contract with Johnson County, their IT department, and they're developing right now for us a financial dashboard that will go on the regional website so that we can see at a glance live data about how we're doing with our finances. And then the last tier, we had a contract with the University of Iowa to do a transportation gap analysis. They studied for a little over a year nationwide what's happening, what's the good research out there, as well as focus groups and surveys within our region to talk about the obstacles for transportation for people to access services. So we have just recently received their report. We shared it with the Regional Governing Board 2 weeks ago, and now we have a committee who's working on, okay, what are some things in that report that are within our wheelhouse, things that we can control, and perhaps things that we can implement in order to make sure that people have transportation to get to their services. And the last 2 are really about professional development. The first one is professional development with our providers, making sure that direct care as well as that mid-level management staff have opportunities to grow professionally. We have a contract with Dr. Selena Perriman, who is here in our region. She's located in Waverly. And Selena does 2 in-person events with mid-level management at our provider agencies a year. Next week is the second one of the year. And she also has a learning management system where people can access online training. And then the very last one is professional development of our staff and succession planning. we developed a plan that all of our staff have certain requirements of training. They have to have 20 hours of professional development every 2 years. 12 of those hours are prescribed, meaning you have to have training in these topic areas. So those topic areas are suicide prevention, trauma responsive care, and co-occurring. So we want all of our staff to be up to date on those issues that we think are really important. And then they have 8 hours of discretionary, so they can attend trainings of things that they're interested in. We also have it split out, the administrative staff, myself and the coordinators, client-facing staff, our regional social workers, and like Missy, and then administrative assistants or the clerical staff. So they have a little bit more requirement as far as like Microsoft Word and Excel. And we have, and then our client-facing staff have a lot more requirements as far as like suicide prevention and trauma responsive care. So that's it. That's all we're working on this year. What do you think?
I'm scared that as we get our fund balance down, we're gonna establish programs that we won't be able to fund in the future.
Well, two thoughts to that, Gary. First of all, a lot of the things that we pay for to establish programs is startup funds. You know, like we give them money to get it off the ground. And then once they have it off the ground, they bill Medicaid or they bill us to sustain it, right? And then the other thing too is, remember, is in Senate File 619, that first year we had a total amount of $37 per person of our revenue. That first year was a combination of county dollars and state funding. Last year, our first year of all state funding was $38 per person. This year is $40. Next year is $42. And then every year after that is allowable growth. Now you and I know the legislator can make a change with that. They can. I mean, there's always a risk. It is a standing appropriation, so it automatically goes in the budget unless they actually pass a bill to change it. So that would take a little political momentum to get that done. But right now, our revenue will also increase. So we are increasing services, but our revenue will increase for us to be able to sustain those. I think, I hope.
Sorry, I have a few minutes.
Oh, I'm so sorry. All right, see you. Any other thoughts, comments? How do you feel like we're doing?
Doing good.
All right.
Spending money.
Oh, yeah. Goodness, we sure are.
How many suicides are there in the state of Iowa in a year?
Off the top of my head, Gary, I'm sorry, I don't know that number. Too many?
I think there's about 1,000.
I think that sounds low.
I heard on the radio the other day.
What's that?
I heard that on the radio the
Oh,
other
really?
day.
Okay.
I don't know if it's true or not.
I wonder if that number was specific to a population group, like 1,000 adolescents. Because total, that number sounds a little low to me.
It just seems like 100 per county.
It's too many.
It's way too many.
Way too many. No kidding, when you put it like that. Yeah, it's alarming.
Now, like Lynn County or whatever, they got more residents than some county in southern Iowa.
Right.
So obviously it's greater in Lynn County than it is in southern Iowa.
But everyone is a life, right? It's too many.
Well, 1,000 people would be about 10 per county.
I bet you we're there.
I wouldn't have a clue.
549.
549?
549 in 2021. That's the last year that's the most up-to-date
That they've-
information by the CDC. It's 549 for the year 2021.
In the state.
Within the entire state of Iowa, yes.
Yeah.
Well, it's not 1,000.
Still too many, but it's
I
not
get it,
1,000.
yeah, yeah.
Okay,
Ready?
well,
Thank you, gentlemen. Yes.
Thank you.
See you at 11:30. Thank you.
Well, on to the next thing. Barb Greenlee evaluation.
I'd like to go into closed session, please.
Can you say that better?
I'd like to go into closed session, please.
Okay. go ahead and stop this.
Just wait,
Oh.
wait till, you gotta make a motion and then read,
Right, sorry.
then we can
Okay.
kill the feed.
You need a motion to go into closed session?
Pardon?
Yes, and read,
And read it?
why
Okay.
we need it.
I'll make a motion to go into closed session pursuant to Iowa Code 21.51I to evaluate the professional competency of an individual whose appointment, hiring, performance, or discharge is being considered when necessary to prevent needless and irreparable injury to that individual's reputation, and that individual requests a closed session.
Okay. Gary,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, I'm gonna shut everything off then.
No.
I don't know how, did she shut the cameras off?
You just have to push that little button up
I
there.
got it,
No.
I did,
Okay,
Okay.
coming that way.
and then I press this again.
Yeah,
Right.
and then we gotta tell everybody who we are. We'll have to do that each individual time.
Right. Okay, stream ended,
That's a
we're off on
little
here.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
smooth up there, so I couldn't see a button.
Well,
Well, I think we are. Why is it still
that
on here?
is mighty weird.
Yeah, I don't
Does
see
this usually go away? You have a
Yeah.
picture?
Yeah,
I don't feel anything either.
Mm-mm.
trying to find a switch to shut it off.
Okay.